what you all have to understand in this debate is the characteristic of what we mean by highly romanticized. We don't think highly romanticized simply means a happy ending. We said that prior to that, there is always a story about the struggle of these people, how these people are just the same with other people and gentlemen. This characteristic is going to help me showing you why we think that highly romanticized art is something that is good for those who suffer from mental illness and gentlemen. There are two things I'm going to show you in my arguments, but before that, I have 2 points of rebuttal. So firstly, Ian basically stated that the existence of highly romanticized arts toward mental illness hampers the effort of curing those who suffer from mental illness. There are 2 reasons. Firstly, on the point of happy ending, we don't think this is good. We say that happy ending is actually good because it shows to the society and also to the patient that these patients deserve a happy ending, just like general public and gentlemen. But more than that, ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of this happy ending, the one that emboldens discriminations and the stigma of the society, that it's okay for you to discriminate these people because just like what we see, these people will never have happy ending, ladies and gentlemen. We say it is the existence of happy ending that push these people to accept, those who suffer from mental illness, so that they can have the happy ending in that film, in that movie, ladies and gentlemen. Second layer on the first rebuttal, how Ian stated that it is unfair for these people because this is not the burden of the patients to cure themselves. We don't see how this argument has placed in this debate because we also accept it is not the fault, it's not the responsibility, the mere responsibility of this individual to improve themselves. But even if these people, watch this movie, ladies and gentlemen, we said their family, their friends, those who are around them, still want to help them curing themselves, gentlemen, regardless of the movie, ladies and gentlemen. So we don't think our, having romanticized art necessarily means that we put burden solely to the individuals, gentlemen. We say they still have family, they still have friends that are going to help them. Second part of rebuttal, no, sit down, Ali. Simply put, second part of rebuttal, I strongly stated that romanticized art means simplifications of problems. Simplification of problems. That Ian stated to you how those who are watching the movies or enjoying the art are not medical experts. We accept that precisely because they are not medical experts, gentlemen. Their job is simply accepting these people as gentlemen. It's okay for these people not to be able to fully cure these people. It's as long as they accept these people, it is okay, ladies and gentlemen. But more than that, ladies and gentlemen, there is here Ian stated that this is bad because there will be a gap between the reality and the reality and the fantasy of the movie. We say it's actually good, ladies and gentlemen, because the moment these people see that the target of the movie isn't able to be reached, that is the moment we think that these people are going to do their best to achieve things in that movie, ladies and gentlemen. But this drive to be able to achieve things in the movie is only there if the happy ending is presented in the very first place. Something that they're not going to have if you go with some propositions. Let's take a look at my first argument, why we believe that romanticized mental illness in art pushes for better acceptance toward those who suffer from mental illness. The problem with the general society, who has no relations or connections with mental illness, is that they have a single perception toward those who suffer from mental illness. That those who suffer from autism or mental retardations are only bothersome and destructive to people around them, or that bipolar are just angry people and volatile, or those who suffer from Asperger's syndrome are those who are helpless and unable to sympathize. Society perceives them as different and necessarily bad. Sit down. What is so special with art that romanticizes mental illness is that this art gives different perspective on the life of those who suffer from mental illness. For example, in case of autism, that autism isn't always that extreme. Even if it is some of them are even talented and capable of social interactions, gentlemen. Or how Asperger's syndromes are trying to understand and empathize with other people's emotions. Or moreover, gentlemen, how romanticized art gives a different spectrum of mental illness that is not always an extreme case, gentlemen. To the very least, the romanticizing art gives a counterbalance of perceptions and even better altering their view to a positive light, gentlemen. But moreover, we think that highly romanticizing mental illness in arts means that you are humanizing those who are patients of mental illness. You don't just see them, dealing with medical procedures and doctors and gentlemen. You see them interacting with other humans in the movie or in the books. That they are just as human as you are, gentlemen. In conclusion, the art may give you a common denominator for general population to better accept them as gentlemen. The analogy for our case is simple as gentlemen. The analogy of our analysis is the reason why in the past and until now we are romanticizing homosexual story, ladies and gentlemen. That their relationship is not about drugs and sex, ladies and gentlemen, but also capable of love and raising families, for example. That they're just the same with heterosexual couple, ladies and gentlemen. This is because the art wants to give a different perspective of something that people cannot see, because these art would like to give a common denominator, ladies and gentlemen. Likewise, art that highly romanticized mental illness shouldn't be regretted. Yeah.
We do not regret the book Sibyl that explains about people with dissociative personality and how he struggles, but does not try to romanticize it, but instead shows how this person eventually dies.
That's good. That example is good, but art is complementary to that, because we don't need people, just like you stated, always read medical information. Only watch arts in general. That is why we say it is important to have art that is consumed by the general population. So if those things would like to support mental illness, we can support them. It's better off in the proposal how we are accepting them, ladies and gentlemen. Second argument why we think that it is something that is acceptable and inherent product of art that is acceptable. Two analysis. Firstly, because the reason because these arts is not in any way degrading. It does not portray the mental illness in a way that is undesirable and is bad, like racism or Holocaust deniers, for example. That is the first layer. But second, ladies and gentlemen, moreover, not just that this is a medium of expressions for those who suffer from mental illness and their families, ladies and gentlemen, this type of art is also their self-defense, ladies and gentlemen. Their self-defense to discriminations and stigma from other populations. It is an art that tells the struggle of them as the family of those who suffer from mental illness and those who are the patients of mental illness in itself, ladies and gentlemen. This is the same reason why we like songs that romanticize again sexuality, like in case of Song of Same Love from Michael Moore, and also the reason why we love stories that romanticize the story of our soldiers. In case of American Sniper, gentlemen. This is a self-defense, a story that tells the struggle of our soldiers back in the battlefield, gentlemen. So for these reasons, I've shown you one, how romanticized art is good for those who are suffering from mental retardations, because it is the one that helps them get accepted, and secondly, why inherently it's an acceptable form of art because it's not degrading, it is a form of self-defense